Hi, Mrs. Lackaboo here. We're back. We have another dissection today. If you are in my general science class, we are in module 15, which is talking about 3 body systems. We're doing the lymphatic, the endocrine, and the urinary system. Today we're going to focus on the main organ, a part of our urinary system. So today we are going to be dissecting sheep kidneys. Okay, so here is a kidney. We'll talk about the different things that you're seeing off here in just a moment. So we like to use these because they're very similar to a human kidney, and you're probably aware, but maybe not, that we all have 2 kidneys. All right, so this is kind of, I have 2 today to show you. And we're going to show how the blood circulates through the kidney, gets rid of waste, and then it dumps all the waste out into your bladder. All right, so that might be where you've heard of kidneys before. So in class this week, remember we did a drawing, a diagram of a single kidney. And we talked about some color coding, and we're going to talk about it in a second. But I want you guys to see, I'm holding the kidney a lot like the diagram, all right? So you're seeing the ureter hanging down, I'll show you that in a minute, and the vessels. So remember when we did this drawing, we talked about there is a renal artery that goes into the kidney that brings the blood in, and there is a renal vein, that's the blue colored line, that takes the blood out of the kidney. And then there's this other vessel that goes down that's called the ureter that takes the waste out to your bladder, and that's where you go pee. Okay, so we're going to talk about that, but it's really important what the kidney does. It has it brings all the blood in. Every 25 minutes, all the blood in your body filters through your kidney. So that's about 40 gallons of blood that comes in and out of your kidneys every day. So it has a lot of work to do. So the oxygenated blood comes in, it filters out the impurities, it absorbs the good stuff that it needs to keep your electrolytes in balance, and anything it doesn't need, it gets rid of. All right, so that's the main diagram of that. So the first thing, if you're one of the students that has a kidney at home, a few students do, but most of you do not, so I want you guys to see it. So you can see that it is kind of a firm little organ, okay? These are the 3 vessels I just mentioned. Here's the ureter, the one that goes down to the bladder. You'll notice that there are 2 vesicles coming out here. Can you see that okay? There's one that's a little larger here that you see. It's stiffer, and then there's a really kind of flimsy one here. The stiff one, if you were to be able to touch it, it's really hard. It feels like a stiff rubber band. That is the artery. The arteries are stiffer. This little soft one over here, it's very squishy. That is the renal vein. They're always a little bit less stiff than the arteries. Okay, so that one has been cut a little bit shorter. Doesn't mean it's shorter, it's just cut here. And then the ureter is this floppy looking kind of tube that's coming out this side. Okay, the other thing before we get inside, I wanted you guys to see exteriorly, it has this film. It's got this natural film called the renal, make sure I say it, renal capsule. So if you have one of these at home, you can actually peel. It looks like it's peeling, like when you have like burnt, you know, you've had sunburn and you want to peel off that dead skin. That's kind of what it's like. It's this thin layer that pulls off. We don't need to pull it all off for our dissection, but I just want you to see that that is what this film is on the outside. So anytime you hear renal, guys, that's talking about kidneys. It's renal function, might be what your doctor says. And so that's what we're talking about here. All right, so let's get ready to cut our kidney open. Okay, guys, so if you have a kidney at home that you're dissecting, follow along. If not, just watch and observe. We have our dissection tray, we have a sharp scalpel for cutting, and we have our diagram that we're learning from today. We did color code it for a reason, and we're talking about how the oxygenated blood comes in through the renal artery, which I showed you earlier. I'm going to show you that you could actually, if you had a poker, you can stick a poker right in there. You can see it is an actual artery where that would be a vessel where the blood would circulate in. Then it's going to go through here. We're going to look inside in a minute and do all its magic on the inside. And then it's going to come back out. The cleaner blood is going to go back out to the heart in the body, and that is this one. It's a little bit fatter. You see, it's got a nice opening there. So there is the opening. Can you see that? and that is the renal vein, okay? And then again, we talked about the ureter. That's this part coming down. All right, so this is a simple dissection in that we are just going to basically cut the kidney in half. So what I'd like for you to do, if you're cutting with me, is we're going to just put all those vessels down on the plate, and you're going to go ahead and carefully take your scalpel or sharp knife, and it's not too hard to cut, and we're going to cut it gently down the center. Okay, so if you watch the heart dissection, it's a lot like that in that we're just cutting it straight down. Doesn't take too much pressure. And we're going to open it like a book. Okay, so now we have our one kidney in two halves. Okay, so I know you're wondering what is all this? So looking at our picture, this part we talked about is called the cortex. That's this outer side. It doesn't seem like much, but that's all this area. That's where all the amazing filtration and absorption is happening. And we'll talk about that further. Inside here, this is called the renal pelvis. That's this area here. And that's where the waste or urine will collect before it goes out the ureter and down to your bladder. Okay, now, so take a look at your pictures. Remember when we drew this, you saw all these filters, and I want you guys to know all the filters in here are called nephrons, okay? Every kidney has over 1 million nephrons in this area. I don't know if you can see, it's a little bit, you can see some lines. It's harder to see, they're microscopic. There's over 1 million of these nephrons in this one kidney. Okay, now what those look like if we had a microscope would look more like this picture. So remember this picture? We drew this. This is what each of the million nephrons looks like, where the blood comes in, it goes through this tubule, goes through its process of filtering out the waste and deciding what it wants to keep, and the waste goes out. All right, and then also the good blood, the good clean blood goes back out as well. So that's where all this action, and I know it's hard to see here, but you do see how it relates to our drawing that we did, okay? So we have our cortex, we have the renal pelvis in here. This is where all of the nephrons are located, and then we can see, sort of, let's see if we can take this apart. All right, so you can see how this ureter is actually directly linked to this renal pelvis. This is that same color. You can see how that's all here. And if you have a kidney, you're welcome to go ahead and pull apart some things, kind of look at it. Let's take a look a little closer. Let's see what happens if I cut it this way. Right, so you're just seeing how thick it is. You can see a little bit more of where all those nephrons would be. So that would be like our picture we saw. Look over here. It went out, and you see all these peaks. This is where you're seeing it here. The same on the kidney. Okay. Now, I'm just kind of playing around. Let's take a look at this. It's very tough. Doesn't want to just pull apart. But if you had one, you can kind of follow how the artery comes in and the vein goes out. And let's see, the ureter connects over here. See, back to where we were, back to that renal pelvis, okay? So as though it doesn't look like a whole lot, it doesn't look like there's much here. This is a really important organ. Sorry, I'm twisting it all in pieces. This is a very important organ for our bodies. Remember, you have 2 of them. People can survive on 1, but you have to have that. And if you don't have kidneys, we'll talk about in class what you can do, medical miracles that can help you survive. But it's super important. All right, what did you think about that? Hey guys, I hope you had fun with that, getting to see what a kidney looks like. It's pretty cool. We were able to see the exterior, interior, talking about the urinary system. And what's interesting, I think I told you, maybe I don't know if you caught it, but every 25 minutes, all the blood in your body filters through your kidneys. And remember, I told you some of it is waste and goes out the ureter, but 99% of the blood that goes in the kidney goes back out to get used again. So there's very little bit that is actually waste. I hope you had a good time. I hope to hear your comments, your questions. Feel free to let me know. I hope you have a great day.